Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 305 Insights. The day has finally come where I've convinced my brother Miguel to join me on a podcast to talk about our Florida Panthers. And lo and behold, it is because they are the 2024 Stanley Cup champions. So, we got to start off from the beginning with the most basic question. My brother, how do you feel?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello, fans, sports fans, and more importantly, Panthers fans out there. Today is a feeling of, honestly, a feeling of just kind of like still feeling like it's not real. Just just being a novice fan for I think I want to say 7 years or so.
It's been over 10.
Well, 10 years, I guess.
Backstory, quick. We're backstory, folks. We were season ticket holders in 2013. We were there in the darkest periods of this franchise when they were averaging about 7,000 fans a game, if that, and they were giving away tickets left and right. So it's been about 10 years. Miguel basically introduced our family and a lot of our friends to hockey. So it's been a long journey, but sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, I think it's super surreal. Like I it's hard to imagine like how my brother said that to come from such a dark place as a franchise to being Stanley Cup champions in probably the hardest of ways. When everybody thought that this franchise was um, down and out and had nowhere to go. But with a few minor moves and some continued support from Viola and the franchise itself, they made it happen for to bring the cup here. And as a fan, it still blows my mind. I'm just probably filled with excitement and joy and happy for the club itself.
And does it make it as a fan for me, I think this run was special for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, it culminated in the win, the ultimate win, Game 7, everything you dream about. But they beat the boogeyman in the Tampa Bay Lightning. You beat the Boston Bruins again. And then you beat the President Trophy winner in the New York Rangers. And then you go up 3-0 against one of the preeminent generational talents we'll see in our lifetime, in Connor McDavid, and you proceed to blow that 3-0 lead to make it tied 3-3, and then you win Game 7. Does the ride with all the highs and lows, we were down 2-1 to the Rangers, does it make it that much sweeter? Like, just, again, Boogeyman in Tampa Bay, you beat the Bruins, you beat the Rangers. Everybody knows the New York, Florida thing, all the transplants and stuff. And then you beat Edmonton the way that you did. Does that make it extra special or just a testament to this team overall?
Um, so I think I'm gonna speak in two ways. One way I'll speak as a fan, and one way I'll speak very unbiased. As a fan, I think it was it's just sweet revenge because Tampa created I think, in my opinion, they created their own dynasty in a in a very specific time period, and we were basically looking up at them for a while, and to beat them um, in a very I think every series is somewhat evenly matched in certain ways, but expectations were not always on our side. And as a fan, to see them beat the 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 Lightning, um, and then to beat the Bruins, who continuously, um, underestimate the Panthers as a team, in my opinion. And then we faced the Rangers, which we all know that down here in South Florida, it's a very New York Canadian market for some reason. And then to just, you know, almost suffered a collapse in which I was telling this to my brother that I prefer them to play Edmonton because I didn't think they were a better team than Dallas. But they this is where I'm going to transition to, not as a fan, but I really was impressed by Edmonton for them to have flipped the switch in terms of literally being swept and then just making it a series, and for them to have the sports media say there's a game 7 in the Stanley Cups. And we, as a fan, and then as a, just a sports, spectator, to see a game 7 in the Stanley Cup with a generational talent in Connor McDavid, and Barkov and Ekblad as a
Lifelong Panther.
lifeline to the Panthers franchise. Okay. Basically, the two that were left that were there from the beginning, when they all started. It was a great road to winning it all.
And to your point, I think we should, great transition, we should give credit to the Edmonton Oilers. There's a lot of teams, when you're down 3-0, you just pack it in.
Yeah, you just.
Maybe you win one game just for pride and do the gentleman's sweep like Tampa did.
Yeah.
But to come all the way back from 3-3,
I will say it was mighty impressive.
You got to give.
I did not expect them to just come roaring back, and I didn't think they would after the Game 3 loss at home at their place. I thought they would just completely lay flat on the next game, on Game 4, but. Wow.
You got to give credit to either whoever, Coach Knobloch or the guys who just decided that yeah,
Mr. Colfie,
that they
great coach. They did well with him.
He's their power play coach, right?
Yeah, he was the defense coach.
And you saw the results. I think the Panthers were the only team to score a power play goal on them. If I'm not the only team. I
think I mentioned this to you a couple times that during the season, Edmonton's penalty kill. Because this was probably before that they hired Coffey, their penalty kill was abysmal. And in the beginning of the season, it was like that. So I completely overlooked the fact that they were that much improved towards the middle to the end of the season into the playoffs. And it showed. If I were to say now, who would they rather face, Edmonton or Dallas, I would probably say Dallas, in my opinion, because
it'd be a much less stressful game.
I think Edmonton they're a complete team. It wouldn't surprise me, obviously, to see them again next year in the Stanley Cup again.
I think the thing that is scary that not scary, but that you have to take solace in as an Edmonton fan is that you took the Panthers, who I think a lot of teams in the NHL, if you poll them anonymously, say they're the toughest team in the NHL to face. Maybe they're not the best team or whatever, but they're going to grind you down. And next thing you know, you're losing 3-1, 4-1 and stuff like that on a consistent basis to them. But you have, like you said, the type of top line talent that they have, with Connor McDavid, with Drysdale. And Drysdale didn't score a goal this whole series. Like the fact that you went to 7 games without one of your guys who was a 50-goal scorer or close to it, if not.
Hyman was 54.
Yeah, and Drysdale, I think, was 47 or something.
Drysdale 40, and he had
47
over 100 points. Yeah. And the team was just top-loaded.
And again, Connor McDavid, generational player. We're not taking it. I think he deserved the Conn Smythe. But you have to give credit to the Panthers. He had that 8-point explosion in both games 4 and 5. In Game 6, yes, the Panthers lost 5-1, but Connor McDavid didn't have a point. Game 7, Connor McDavid didn't have a point. So you got to give
credit must be due to the captain Barkov, and also the team, because Barkov had his number along with Draisaitl, but when Barkov needed the backup for double teams, he got it, and it showed because obviously, like you said, they just 0 points from
And I
left
think
side
that
up.
was a great
McDavid did
adjustment.
not show up in Game 7 when he needed to. Not to like blow anything over the Panthers and their game plan, but
But I do think that's a credit to Paul Maurice, because you saw in a few of the games, once Game 3 ended or whatever, and you might have saw it towards the end of Game 3 where they were down 4-1, they scored the 2 goals or whatever. But Knobloch he made a lot of great adjustments. They
yeah,
realized that they can beat us with speed, but he did a very subtle change where he allowed the McDavid line to avoid the Barkov line. But then you saw in Game 7, they both let off with their fourth line, I believe it was, to start off the game. Like, Paul Maurice wasn't going to play that game of,
yeah,
like,
cat and mouse, and
let's put our first and your fourth, and then we're all out of sorts with our
there was
lines.
a
Like,
couple times in the game last night where the fourth line was like somehow matched up with the first line, but it transitioned to that top line just barely, and it just helped that much, and it
the fourth line had a really good game last night.
prevented certain breakaways and whatnot and
Yeah.
breakdowns. But
And I do think I will have to bash Knobloch on one thing. I think he didn't handle the third period in Game 7 that well. I think he played McDavid and all
I
those
think he
guys.
overplayed his hand.
He played them way too much early in the period.
He
So by the time, like, less than 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, whatever, you could see them. Even McDonough said it on the broadcast with like 2 minutes left in the game that they're out of gas. Like, you have to shorten the lines, yes, but not at the expense. It's still 2-1 at the end of the game. And you, first of all, you wait till, and this again, kudos to the Panthers. You waited till about a minute 20 or minute 35 to take out
they
Skinner.
took too long. Yeah.
And then by the time you take out Skinner, there's nothing in those legs. Like, when they say leave it all out there, they did. Like, the amount of minutes that those guys played in the third period, and Paul
I
Maurice
literally think
joked
he's
about
shorting up the lines to just the first two, and that was it.
And Paul Maurice joked about it. The Panthers iced the puck 75 times. Like, they were in the offensive zone a lot, and they could not get it through. But I really think that was a fatal error on his part by playing those guys so much in the beginning of the period that towards the end it's too late. But I think we want to go back to what you were saying earlier about some not shrewd moves. I call them shrewd moves, but you're saying the moves that Bill Zito made. I mean, just to recap, let me wrote these down here. Signing Carter Verhaeghe, stealing Gustav Forsling off of waivers and then signing him to a really great contract. Trading for Brandon Montour and Sam Reinhart from the Buffalo Sabres. And obviously the big one, you're trading Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau off his best season.
Cornerstones of the Panthers.
Someone who's been with
favorites.
2011.
One of my favorite players in Huberdeau, by the way.
Yeah. For Matthew Tkachuk. And that just immediately changes the outlook of the franchise and how they play. And, I mean, again, it's not easy to go from the President's Trophy winner and having the cardiac Cats, the most exciting team to watch. If we were down 4-2, we're going to win the game 6-5. But you don't win that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to tell the franchise or the fan base that, hey, we had the most exciting team last year. We were the best team in the NHL. And we can already tell you after 1 year it's not going to work. And you blow it up and you bring in Paul Maurice from, he stepped down from the Winnipeg Jets and says they need a new voice. He didn't expect to coach ever again. And he instilled this type of the playoff type of hockey with the forecheck, dump it in, and it's a complete change of what we were used to. He almost didn't make the playoffs in year one, and then they go on that Stanley Cup Finals run, and then they're back here. But I mean, he's like Huberdeau was your favorite player. Like, how did you feel when all that stuff happened? And
I remember it. When I saw the pop up on my phone and said that he was traded, it was a complete shocker. Like, I didn't expect them to trade like that, but a business is a business, and they needed to trade because they needed to let go of some cap, and then they obviously use that money to re-sign Tkachuk, So, in my opinion, we get a younger Huberdeau with more bulldog in him and just as much scoring, if not more playmate. Just more skill in certain aspects. But obviously, it paid off because we're Stanley Cup champions, so you kind of feel bad. But um, I think it was a great move at the end of the day. Obviously, it turned out well, but very, very shocking because, as a fan, you're used to players, Vetranos, Radko Gudis, Huberto, Mackenzie Weegar. Those players went through a grind too because they were with us for, years. And we tried our best with them. And sometimes all it takes is to have a coach and have players, and based on what you scout and based on what you study on terms of how these players play, and then you create that what do you call it?
The culture.
The culture, yeah, he culture, like
Yeah.
cat culture. It's funny to say like the Heat created their own culture and it stands out, and now I feel like from last year and maybe even the year before, probably more last year into this year, it's safe to say that Panthers created their own culture, and like this just puts a stamp on how their free agency is going to be, how players and are going to want to maybe possibly come if they can come, if the money's right, if it's all right. So it's nothing to worry about or think about now, but definitely exciting to see what the free agency is going to be like and what next year's going to be like.
All right, so to kind of not finish it up, but this is where we kind of hand out the kudos to what I believe are certain individuals. You can name your own. I really want to give props to Sergei Bobrovsky. I know it wasn't easy for him. Again, $70 million is a lot to like wipe your tears away, but as a professional hockey player, there is a sense of pride in what you do, and it wasn't easy for him. His contract was labeled as an albatross on this franchise. Spencer and I took over against that Tampa Bay series. Uh, in all reality, do we make the playoffs last year without Alex Lyons? And for 2 straight years, once Alex Lyons kind of cooled off, he put in up Bobrovsky. He saved the season against the Bruins, and then he led them to Stanley Cup. He ran out of gas. The whole team ran out of gas because of injuries and whatnot. And then this year, shuts down the Tampa Bay Lightning, shuts down the Bruins, shuts down the Rangers. And the Rangers aren't an easy team to shut down. You have, and then for long stretches, he did really well against the Oilers. I know you have the 8-1 game where he got pulled and stuff like that. But again, he won the first game 3-0. We won the next game 2-1, I believe, and then I think
4-1.
4-1, and then
or 2-1, or was it 3-1, or was it 3-1 or 2-1?
It might have been 3-1 because of the empty net, I think. Yeah, and then we won 4-3.
4-3. Yeah.
So, and then all our wins, you can see how important he is. We win 2-1. So kudos to him. And I just want real quickly before I pass it to you, you kind of mentioned it already earlier. Aaron Ekblad, Alexander Barkov. Ekblad's been here since 2014, the number 1 overall pick. Alexander Barkov, I think, was 2 or 3. Well, he was 2012. He was 2013.
No, he's 2012.
No, Huberdeau was 2011. He was 2013, and then Ekblad was 2014.
Oh, okay.
And then, but I think he was second or third pick.
Yeah.
But again, over a decade and a decade with the franchise, like you said, cornerstones. Like it's just really,
and they're still young.
Yeah, you pointed this out the other day, and I keep on forgetting. Barkov isn't even 30 yet. Like he's still got plenty of gas left in the tank. So I got one more, but I'll save it for after. Like, do you have anybody you want to give a shout out for this team?
I'm gonna go off of what you said, but on a different angle. I'm gonna give a lot of credit to the coaching staff, and more so towards Roberto Luongo and the goaltending coaches, because I think for maybe not the whole time as a fan I've been under spectating them, but between like Alex Lyon and Stolars and maybe a couple years back, but like for them to flip not only Bobrovsky's career and when they first signed him, I was talking to a guy downtown in my old job, and we were speaking because he's a Canadian fan, uh, and we were just talking about the whole signing with him, and you don't pay a goalie $10 million a year ever
Correct.
unless you are like the goalie, back to back Vezinas for years and years and years, and you literally put out solid numbers every year. But you get that to Bobrovsky, and it's a head scratcher. And in the first 3 years, you're like, damn, this is not how it's supposed to be. And Panthers made a decision in having Luongo come in and helping Tallis, and I think that really solidified, careers of Bobrovsky, career of Alex Lyon, Stolars this past season as a great backup, and hopefully Spencer Knight can be that backup goalie. Who knows?
And transition to
and
the guy.
transition to the guy, because
Yep.
that's what you spend a high draft pick for.
Yep.
It would be silly to not have him give them an opportunity to start or transition to be the starter. So that's definitely interesting to see in the upcoming year or so, and how they go about that. But definitely, I will go off of what you said, and in that different aspect of the coaches doing a great job. And I think without like PK Subban says, defense, and in a lot of sports, defense wins championships, and it definitely showed. Goaltending in this aspect plus the defense was like the total package, and it showed like defense does win championships. And when it came to the grind of it, the defense came and stepped up, and Bobrovsky, you could see the desperation on defense, like in the third period, and how they just stalwarted everything that they possibly could, bodies diving, and definitely the coaching staff. Paul Maurice definitely. I don't even think he's. I don't think he's retiring anytime soon. I think he stays, and it's going to be exciting.
Glad you brought up Paul Maurice at the end, because that's again another perfect transition on your part without showing you my notes. I want to end on Coach Paul Maurice. I mean, this is a man who's been coaching hockey for 26 seasons. He's the longest tenured first-time Stanley Cup winner. He's had
He's a Hall of Famer now.
almost 1,850 games. I think the exact number was 1,848 NHL coached games. 869 victories, and
coaching since he was a kid, basically.
he transformed. We talked about this. He transformed the way this team played into, again, in a non-biased. I'm saying if you pull the NHL, this is the most feared, the most physical, however you want to put it, without sounding too scared of them, team in the NHL. Nobody wants to face the Panthers. Like, that's just being realistic. That's not us being biased. You ask any franchise.
There's a lot of articles that said the other team had blatantly stated that they do not want to face the Panthers.
Yes.
Because of the bumps and bruises that they're going to bring you day in, day out, every night.
And he built that. And I just want to share some notable quotes from post-game interviews and stuff like that. He's had plenty of memeable quotes throughout this postseason, throughout his tenure. But one of them that stood out was directly after the game, one of the ESPN reporters asked him, what makes this so different, or what makes it special? And he said, we needed to lose 3 to learn how to win number 4. This is a man who again, and with this quote, let me just follow up with another quote. In his interview with Scott Van Pelt at the end, he said to him, when there's 8 minutes left to go in the third period in the deciding game, if we got this right, we are saying, I hope the clock slows down, not speeds up. And what he was telling Scott Van Pelt with that quote was that you live in the moment, you embrace the grind, that everything you've worked hard for and everything that this franchise has instilled in you, it will work. And that we don't need the clock to speed up so that we say we're Stanley Cup champions. He said, I'll never be another Game 7 in my lifetime. And a lot of these players won't. Enjoy the moment, we're here and we're going to win because of everything we've done leading up to this. This man is the perfect leader for this team. And I think it's perfectly summed up by the quote that he said in the post-game press conference where he said, you don't win the Stanley Cup, you share it. And you saw it even with something as subtle as how they passed around the trophy. It went to the captain because he's the captain, and so they gave it to Barkov first. He passes it to Bobrovsky. I think if you have any insight into this team, you know exactly why Barkov passed it to him, and we've already discussed it with how much weight was on that man's shoulders because of
You
the
could tell when he
contract.
was skating with the cup that literally everything let go off his shoulders. Like he was just completely like relieved in that moment.
And everybody's been saying
Like,
it's.
I can really see the expression. Like I can feel it through the TV.
And then when we were watching it, you called it. You said that the next person was going to be
Poso.
Oposo because he's played over 1,000 games. I think it was 1,060 something or
Went to the
whatever.
playoffs with the Islanders, didn't win it. Got traded, and like many of the players that we had on have on this team, they signed to win the cup because they believed in the Panthers, and sure enough, they went on the journey.
And then the next person was who was it? Oli? Who was it?
It
It wasn't Oliver Ekman-Larsson, right? No,
no.
it was someone else who was a tenured person.
What Oposo, Kulikov? No, Ekman Larson. No,
I can't remember who it was, but you just saw the way they passed down the trophy is exactly why, like Paul Maurice says, it starts with Barkov and it trickles down. That just the way these teammates care about each other, and you don't notice that some of these guys have only been here for a few months or a year. They immediately buy in, and it results in this. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Paul Maurice in general, or just any other final thoughts that you have on this? Just overall,
um,
incredible season.
I think that, like I stated before, um, it's going to be interesting to see like how Zito constructs this team, knowing he has to resign Reinhardt, knowing he has to resign Montour, because in all honesty, I think one blemish would be the defense. Even though we have great defense, I think the defense could have been a little tad better in some aspects, and maybe even add some more offensive spark to the power play, more specifically, not any other lines, but the power play more specifically. Um, I think it's going to be exciting also to see that, like, knowing that this is our brand of hockey now, and I don't think we're going to be shying away from it anytime soon because it's what Paul Maurice is, it's what the Panthers are, and now these players know that are on the team already. They know what Panthers hockey is about, and it's just going to be great to see, them resigning players if they are going to go that route, or bringing in new faces. It's just going to be great to see, and also, like, have that feeling, have that knowing that they're going to be experienced this Panthers culture. And, I think it's a great day to be a fan.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we said, it's been a long journey for us. I mean, realistically, we've been fans for about 11 years now. So it's been one crazy ride, and just finally glad to see it culminate. You know, as we get older, it's that much more special to watch the sports teams that we love win championships because we don't know if we'll ever see it again. So we went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year and we got demolished, and then we came back this year and we made it tough, but it was it's everything that we dream of as fans. Game 7, like there's nothing like when you play as kids in the driveway. You don't dream of anything else, and we got to witness it as fans. So, uh, go Cats!
Go Cats!
And we'll catch you next time, folks, here on 305 Insights.
Thanks for listening.